Hi there again, BookTube, Lola here and welcome back to my channel. Today I have decided to make my own little book tag video and I'm hoping that you guys out there who like doing BookTube videos will do this along with me. And without further ado, I will begin. This is going to be the Gods of Olympus book tag and I'm going to basically ask you a question to do with all the 12 gods of Olympus. So the first one is going to be Zeus, of course, and this is: Zeus is the king of the gods and the lord of the sky. What is your king of books? Now, of course, as some of you may know, my favourite book of all time is Faith of the Fallen by Terry Woodkind, and this is my I put this book up on a pedestal and I'll read it over and over and over again, and I absolutely love it. It's so beautiful and so wonderfully written. This is my Zeus of books, if you will. The next question is: Poseidon is the lord of the sea and horses. What book series pulled you deep into its depths and held you there? Well, I'm not going to go with a series as such, but, well, even though it is part of a series, but I'm going to go with The Cursed Child from the Harry Potter series. This really did hold me, and I read it all in one go and I couldn't put it down, and it's one of the latest books that's done that to me, so I'm going to go with Cursed Child. The whole Harry Potter series held me deep into its depth, so I'm just going to go with the whole series in general really, but I did absolutely love The Cursed Child. The next one is, of course, Hades, the third brother. Hades is the lord of the underworld. What character's death has wounded you the most? Now I'm gonna say which book this character's from, but at the same time I'm hoping people will get it. I don't want to give any big spoilers. It's a character that dies in the Severed Souls of the Sword of Truth series, like the post Sword of Truth series, like a Richard and Kaelin novel. It's a character that dies in Severed Souls, quite close to the beginning, and another character that's quite close to the end. I cried equally through both of them. I'm not going to name any names because I know some people who watch me like the Sword of Truth series and haven't got that far, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you have read the Sword of Truth series and you're completely up to date, you'll know who I'm on about. Those two characters are very, very close to my heart, and it killed me. I cried throughout that entire book because of the deaths in that book. So if you have read that book, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Sorry about the non-spoiler bit there for people who don't read the Sword of Truth series, but these two characters are so close to my heart and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, because if you haven't read the Sword of Truth series yet and you want to, it's a big, big deal. So the next one is: Hera is the queen of the gods and of marriage. Name a royal character that you are devoted to. And that is, of course, Richard Rall from the Sword of Truth series. I think this is going to be very Sword of Truth based for me, but I think that's the only royal character I can think that I'm really devoted to. He is the Lord Rall of Dahara, and he's so close to my heart. He's the main character of the series, and he's such an amazing character, and Terry Woodkind puts so much into him, and yeah, I'm pretty devoted to him. The next question is: Aphrodite is a goddess of beauty and passion. Show a book cover that you find most beautiful. That for me would be, I think, yeah, The First Confessor by Terry Woodkind again, but look how gorgeous this cover is. It's just so it's shiny and it's simple and it's got the grace on it, which means a lot to me, and the Tree of Life, and it's just such a beautiful cover to me. So simple, so nice, and I absolutely love it. So that's my most beautiful cover. The next question is: Hephaestus is the blacksmith god. Tell us about a well-sculpted story. For me, this would have to be, I don't have the bad beginning on me, but it's the first one of this series by Lemony Snicket. I absolutely loved The Bad Beginning, and it's such a well-sculpted story, and Lemony Snicket does put a hell of a lot into his books, and I just really, really enjoyed reading it and putting myself into that world with the Baudelaire orphans and seeing what they go through throughout the first story. The first story is still one of the best in a way, because it starts the story and it tells us how the Baudelaire authors become orphans and how they're running away from Count Olaf and why. So it's such a well sculpted story, and the whole series itself is just wonderfully sculpted, so I would recommend Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events to all of you, because it's such a wonderful story. The next one is Ares is the god of war and bloodthirst. Tell us about a book that put you at war with the plot or a character. Now I have to go back to Faith of the Fallen with this, because Terry Goodkind put me at war with Nikki, who is now one of my favourite characters, because before this book Nikki was evil. She was the character that was evil, she was against Richard, and in this book is basically about her taking Richard into the old world and trying to teach him what Jaganga's fighting for. And it really put me at war with Nikki, because you find so much out about her character and about her past and why she's the person she is. But then post Faith of the Fallen, towards the end of Faith of the Fallen, Nikki becomes one of my favourite characters. So that really did change my opinion of a character, and it put me at war with her for a while whilst I was reading it. And yeah, that's my war with character question. The next question is, Athena is the goddess of war and strategy. Tell us about a strategically placed location in a book. Now this strategically placed location has to be the Mud People's Village in The Wizard's First Rule of Terry Goodkind's series. It's the first book of the series. The Mud People's Village is really well placed because it's the first place that Richard really goes to when he makes it across the boundary into the Midlands. And I think the Mud People's Village basically teaches Richard the kind of people he's going up against, kind of, and how he has to act in the Midlands, and language barriers are there, and it's basically massive jumping in the deep end for him, and to see and practice his ways and the way he's got to trust Caelan to be by his side and help him through his quest through the Midlands and into Dahara. So I think the Mud People's Village was a really strategically placed location because of how much it teaches the main character, who yet knows nothing about the Midlands. The next question is, Hestia is the goddess of home and hearth. What book location would be your new home? Again, from The Wizard's First Rule and all the other books, I think it would be the Wizard's Keep in Edendrill, because I absolutely love, it's got libraries and libraries and more libraries, and I would literally live there. That would be my new home. And there's wizards and there's sorceresses at the height of the Wizard's Keep, and I would literally be at home there and I would love it. Next question is, Hermes is the messenger god and the god of thieves. What story has given you a message that is close to your heart? That would be none other than, yeah, for me that would have to be Phantom, because there's a wizard's rule in here that is just really important, and that is, willfully turning aside from the truth is treason to oneself, and that is the Wizard's 10th rule, because it's the 10th book of the series. But that's such an important message, because so many people will, it goes with the first rule from the Wizard's First Rule as well. So many people will not believe the truth because they're scared it might be a lie, or they're scared that it might hurt them in some way, so they'll turn away from it and believe a lie instead. And the Wizard's First Rule is people are stupid. A person will believe a lie because they're scared of it being true, or because they're afraid, or it's basically something along those lines. And those rules go really well together, because it's lying to yourself, and it's heartbreaking that people will do that all the time. I mean, I've probably done it myself. But these are all really, you know, things that you should know already and that kind of stuff. It's just common sense really, all these wizards rules. But it's such an important message to put across to people, and all these books do have a big moral in them. And willfully turning aside from the truth, something that is really important in your life, could be treason to yourself, because you're turning away from something that could be very important in your life. So that is a very important message in these books to me, and this is why I love them so much, because they do get these kind of things across to you. The next question on my list is, Artemis is the goddess of the wild. What book is set in wild parts of the world? Now, the only one I could think of for this was The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I will show you. And though it does have a lot of civilization in it, a lot of it is placed in like journeys between towns and cities and all that kind of stuff, and they're having to travel through wild lands and face ogres and horrible beasts like that. So I will say this because I think it's the closest book I have that I've read that I know of that is set a lot in the wild instead of in civilization. And the last question, last and not least, is Apollo is the god of civilization and music. What book has a musician or bard in it? And I'm just going to go with Eye of the World again, because, as well as the other books in the series as far as I know, because there's a character called Tom and he is a bard of sorts. Yeah, he's basically a bard and he goes around playing his instruments and singing for different taverns and such to get paid basically when on his travels, and that's what he does. And he's quite an important character in the story as well, because he does travel along with the main characters for some time. So yeah, he's called a gleeman in these stories and he's basically a bard. And gleemen are quite popular and important in the story, so I'll let you just know that. And they are my 12 Gods of Olympus questions, and I will tag all of you who are watching it. Please go ahead and try them. I will link all or type all of the questions in the description for you to use, and feel free to do this tag and enjoy yourselves, because the Gods of Olympus are amazing and I hope you learned something along the lines of the gods if you didn't know much about them. So thank you again for watching another video. I will see you in my next one. Please subscribe to my channel, comment below whatever you might think of the books I've mentioned today, questions about gods if you like, I don't mind. So I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!